Okay, hello class. Welcome to another lecture. Um, this video is about the chapters of overweight, physical deviance, and deviant characteristics. Title of today's presentation is Too Thick, Too Thin, A Gendered Guide to Disappointing Society. So kind of an introduction to this. I really want you guys to focus on these questions and think about them throughout this short lecture. So why on social media are there millions of comments about a woman's stomach, neck, thighs, arms, etc., and how they're too big? I don't know if any of you guys are on social media like TikTok or Instagram, Reddit, whatever. But I think it's always safe to assume that there's going to be very, very many comments about an overweight woman if there's one in the video. Another thing to think about it is, why do women stay away from men who are smaller than them and are drawn to the abs and big biceps and super strong men, big strong men? Okay, overweight. So Good talks about how being overweight, or one of the perspectives that Good talks about is how being overweight is seen as a choice, and like you choose to be lazy, you choose to be fat, and because of this, like you shouldn't even be seen out in public because you're such a bad example to people. And I want to acknowledge that media is not all powerful, but it 100% contributes, maybe even contributes the most to the reinforcement of these harmful ideals, especially regarding women. So some of these examples are White Rock. Good talked about how the ideal body has gotten smaller over the years, so taller and even like weighs even less. Playboy, obviously, a bunch of thin women that are men sexualized. So if men sexualize thin women, that's probably what they're going to be attracted to. Models, modeling in general. I mean, I know America's Next Top Model. There's like a new thing that came out with that, and just talking about like some of the hosts talking about how they treated these women and the ways they made them feel, especially with their bodies. I don't know if any of you guys had seen the Texas like cheerleaders, but watching those hosts talk about how like this girl's pudgy stomach is showing out of the shorts or her butt's too big, stuff like that. Miss America, all that stuff. Fat males are still considered deviant, but it's not to the extreme that females are commented on from other people. And I think that men in particular really want to enforce this idea that women shouldn't be fat, women shouldn't be big, so because they want that. They want thin, feeble, weak women to protect. And so they continue to promote this. Yeah. One of the things I thought was really interesting was how Good talked about society would rather like associate with the paraplegic or wheelchair bound than the obese, and like the paraplegic, wheelchair bound people would sometimes make fun of the fat people. Is skinny just as bad? So the stereotypical norm is that you want to be a strong man so you can provide for your family and protect your family. I actually think that thin men make women feel insecure about themselves, so it doesn't have anything to do with you know the woman. It's just like that man is making the woman feel insecure about her own body because she has her own insecurities. Um, I think that thin men break aesthetic and gender roles, because again, the aesthetic is abs and toned and strong muscles, stuff like that. And along with that comes, the gender role of having to provide and protect and having to be big to do that. So I think they break those. Um, okay, that was my cat if you heard that. Again, lots of media promotes strong men, like fitness influencers, for example. I think another form of media that promotes this are like those podcasts. Like every man has a podcast now, I swear, but they've been throwing the word around beta. So like, like men who are thin are seen as beta males because they're not strong. They're just the weaker ones. I do think that females do elicit a negative response. So it is still considered deviant to be thin, but I don't think it's to the extreme as males. I think that a lot of times people will get the comment like, "Oh, you need to eat a burger," or like, "You need to eat a bunch of food," like you're so thin, stuff like that. Again, I think this is all stems from the men have to fight for their women. There's actually an example. My fiance, I've talked to him about this, and his friends too. Like they feel like they have to fight for their women, and they need to be big and strong so that they can fight for their women. Some of the consequences of this stigma are less likely to get jobs. So you talked about how that one overweight girl was not able to work at McDonald's because the manager didn't want McDonald's to be associated with her weight. Less likely to get in relationships. Again, if you don't fit the standard of beauty, you probably will not get as many people interested in you. More likely to experience hate online and potentially in person. I mean, it's very obvious. You can look in any comment section under any video of an overweight person. And I think because of those things, they're obese and emaciated individuals are more likely to experience depression and anxiety due to this hate. So some of the key takeaways that I want you guys to really think about after this video are: one, overweight versus skinny. So again, it's not just media promoted. There are long traditions in society, and there's just a million reasons why this is promoted. But really think about who benefits from this. And then the second key takeaway are female versus male. I think after reading Good, the chapter, and just from personal experience, the stigmas against females are worse than against males. So therefore, being fat would be worse than being skinny to the general population. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. I will see you guys in a few weeks.